Mark Antony's speech in Julius Caesar by Shakespeare and Mary Fisher's Whisper of AIDS speech both display the elements of a powerful and effective speech by emotionally appealing the audience, being all-knowing, and engaging the audience. Mary Fisher is an American political activist and author. After contracting HIV from her second husband, she has become an outspoken HIV/AIDS activist for the prevention, education, and for the compassionate treatment of people with HIV and AIDS. Mary Fisher took the stage of the Republican National Convention at the Houston Astrodome in August 19, 1992, and delivered a 13-minute speech that was seen as many as a jab at the Republican Party's negligence in the face of the growing AIDS epidemic. Her speech breaks the stereotypes that circled AIDS in that era.
Let's briefly talk about Mark Antony and Mary Fisher. So what are some characteristics of Mark Antony? Generally, he's very manipulative, self-centered, and superstitious. Throughout the play, because Mark Antony continues to support Julius Caesar no matter what the conditions are, he's also seen as a loyal friend who always manages to stand up for Caesar and defend him. Mark Antony's speech manipulates the commoners as he continuously uses emotional appeal and also engages the commoners through the use of his powerful words.
One of the key elements that both speeches incorporate is emotional appeal, or also known as pathos, in order for the audience to feel remorseful. The following quote stated by Mary Fisher depicts how she believes that AIDS victims do not deserve to earn cruelty. She states, "Tonight I represent an AIDS community whose members have been reluctantly drafted from every segment of American society. Though I am white and a mother, I am one with a black infant struggling with tubes in a Philadelphia hospital. Though I am a female and contracted this disease in marriage and enjoy the warm support of my family, I am one with a lonely gay man sheltering a flickering candle from the cold wind of his family's rejection." Fisher incorporates imagery in order to emotionally appeal the audience, as she has mentioned before that I am one with a lonely gay man sheltering a flickering candle from the cold wind of his family's rejection. She informed her audience that the AIDS virus is not a political creature. It does not care whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, black or white, male or female, gay or straight, young or old. Fisher therefore uses herself as an emotional example in order to enhance her argument of how she is the same as all the other AIDS victims, which is why she believes that they do not deserve any stereotypical criticism because they too are humans. Antony utilizes emotional appeal and brings about sympathy in order to persuade the plebeians that Caesar's death was truly a mistake. Antony states, "What cause withholds you then to mourn for him? O judgment, thou art fled to brutish beasts, and men have lost their reason. Bear with me. My heart is in the coffin there with Caesar, and I must pause till it come back to me." As he weeps for Caesar's death, he proves his admiration for Caesar by expressing that his heart is in the coffin there with him. Through these words, he means to show that he sincerely cares for and supports Caesar. Also, his sympathetic ways convince the people to feel sympathetic for Caesar as well, and inspire them to take action. Antony also incorporates imagery to emphasize the fact that men who do not mourn for Caesar have become brutish beasts and have lost their reason. Instead of using delicate words, Antony specifically uses brutish beasts in order to describe the individuals who are not remorseful for Caesar, similar to wild animals. In other words, Antony argues how those who do not feel pity for the loss of Caesar are not humans, but instead wild beasts. Antony evokes emotions to connect the commoners to the horrible death Caesar dealt with, which emphasizes how Caesar did not deserve this cruel death. Therefore, the commoners through his speech felt guilty and were apologetic.
All-knowing, logos. Both speeches provide evidence in their points in order to increase their credibility and bring their audience to a specific realization. In order to prove her point and increase credibility, Mary Fisher provides evidence of the rising AIDS epidemic. The reality of AIDS is brutally clear. 200,000 Americans are dead or dying. 1 million more are infected. Worldwide, 40 million, 60 million, or 100 million infections will be counted in the coming few years. But despite science and research, White House meetings, and congressional hearings, despite good intentions and bold initiatives, campaign slogans, and hopeful promises, it is, despite all, the epidemic that is winning tonight. By providing evidence, Mary Fisher shows her expertise in the subject and in her point that AIDS is an illness that is here to stay. These shocking facts show Americans that AIDS is not an illness that should be ignored. especially when at the time AIDS was thought to be a disease that only infected homosexuals. With these facts, she is able to create an impact on the people and create an image of the severity of the disease. This raises awareness of AIDS among the American people and shows the reality of the fact that AIDS has the ability to infect anyone. In the same way, Antony provides simple pieces of evidence showing how Caesar was not ambitious and would not become a tyrant in the future. When that the poor have cried, Caesar hath wept. You all did see that on the Lupercal I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. Was this ambition? Unlike Brutus, who does not provide evidence of their reasoning for killing Caesar, Antony provides strong evidence. Because the plebeians have also witnessed these pieces of evidence for themselves, they understand Antony and his point. This caused a realization that Caesar was murdered not for the good of the country, but for the satisfaction of Brutus and his traitors.
Another important element that Fisher and Antony both include in their speeches is engaging the audience, a crucial factor that allows their speeches to be successful. But not all of you have been so blessed. You are HIV positive, but dare not to say it. You have lost loved ones, but you dare not to whisper the word AIDS. You weep silently. You grieve alone. I have a message for you. It is not you who should feel shame. It is we who tolerate ignorance and practice prejudice, we who have taught you to fear. We must lift our shroud of silence, making it safe for you to reach out for compassion. It is our task to seek safety of our children, not in a quiet denial, but in effective action. In this specific quote, Fisher clearly states that she has a message for the audience by using you and that we must take an effective action instead of remaining silent. She does this by placing the people in a position where they feel like they have to do something about it and also by making them feel purposeful. Through this technique, she keeps the audience attentive and interested in the cause, making them feel important as she claims that it is not you who should feel shame. Instead of feeling shame and simply weeping silently, Fisher directs the audience in an engaging manner to finally take a stand against AIDS. Moreover, he hath left you all his walks, his private arbors, and new planted orchards, on this side Tiber. He hath left them new. And to your heirs forever, common pleasures, to walk abroad and recreate yourselves. Here was a Caesar, when comes such another? Antony puts emphasis on the people, referring to them as you, to show them that he sees them as political equals and not just some lower-class people. He draws the attention of the audience and informs them of the reality of Caesar and how he was actually a relatively good leader to them in a way that he had done many things for them. Antony mentions how Caesar has even left his private arbors and new planted orchards simply for the people. With the people engaged in his speech, this influenced the people to take action and seek revenge on the traitors that brought upon the death of Caesar. Were the speeches successful? The main goal of Mary Fisher's speech is to raise awareness of AIDS and break the stereotypes by showing how anyone can be infected. She hopes that through her speech, people will learn to stand with all AIDS victims and not think of AIDS as a taboo subject.
In an interview with America's AIDS magazine, it is evident that Mary Fisher's speech has broken the stereotypes placed on AIDS and raised awareness for the disease.
It changed the way people looked at the disease and gave me an opportunity to speak to people in power, she remembers. I talked to many groups of women that looked just like me. Maybe they would have never heard that message. Mark Antony's main goal of his speech was to convince the plebeians that Brutus and the traitors have killed Caesar in anger and jealousy. He hopes that through his speech, the plebeians will take action against the traitors.
Mark Antony's speech is seen as successful primarily because the plebeians have been convinced that Brutus was a traitor that had to be punished for Caesar's death, and because his speech ended with the revolt of the plebeians against the traitors.
Methinks there is much reason in his sayings. If thou consider rightly of the matter, Caesar has had great wrong. Most noble Caesar, will revenge his death. O royal Caesar,